Hello, I wanted to talk about a couple accessories for the new Fujifilm medium format GFX 50R. Let me get the camera out of the way here. Let's take a look at three of these. These are my three favorites. This is a macro extension tube from Fujifilm. It actually has contact pass-throughs for autofocus. This is, I would not recommend the 45mm. This is the MCEX 18G macro extension tube from Fujifilm. Depends on which lens you're using, and I've tried it on every GFX lens, and I happen to own all of them, is that the working distance sometimes goes down drastically. Like on the 23mm, the working distance from the front of the lens to the subject goes from 249mm down to 11mm. But the actual gap, or the actual area that you actually have autofocus capability in there is really quite narrow. The one lens is, yes, that this extension tube is really wonderful on and makes it worth buying, since it is actually not a cheap, it is extremely well made. It's actually quite heavy. Is the 32-64 zoom lens for the GFX. The working distance from 32 to 64 goes down from 356mm and 427mm at the far end, i.e. 64mm, down to 27mm to 90mm. So between the ranges of 32 to 64, you basically go from 350 and 430 down to 27mm working distance, and at 64mm, 90mm working distance. So really drastic improvement. And since you actually have the zoom range in there, you actually have a lot of play for working distance. And this alone makes a purchase of the macro extension tube worth it. You also, too, on the macro lens, the 120mm f4 GF lens, you go from a working distance of 273mm only down to 223, but the magnification, which is a 0.5 magnification lens natively, goes up to a 0.71 magnification lens with this macro extension tube. These are my two, and these are the best adapters. These are K&F Concept. You can find these on eBay. You can actually order them off their website. This is a Nikon to GFX mount adapter. This will let you use even non-AI Nikkor lenses, the really old ones, AI, AIS, G series, D series, everything. Obviously, too, if you have some of the really newer Nikkor lenses, and also, too, the tilt shift lenses, which have electronic apertures, you have absolutely no ability to close down the aperture on those lenses. But basically, 98% of all Nikkor lenses, f-mount lenses made, you could use with this adapter on your GFX. And I've tried out many dozens of lenses. You'd be surprised that most of them hardly vignette at all. There's quite a few that do, but it is extremely shocking how few actually do. Some are obviously better adapted than others. Since I actually have a huge pile of old, and they're old and cheap, and some of my favorite bokeh lenses in the world are old M42 lenses. This is a M42 to GFX adapter, i.e. Pentax screw mount. So I've got some incredible bokeh lenses that I've adapted to the GFX, and there we go. And so these are the three adapters that I recommend. This one is not cheap, but for the 32 to 64 alone, it's absolutely worth it. And here we have the Nikon F-mount to Fuji GFX mount adapter. So even though we have currently only 7 GF lenses, you have a capability of adapting a lot of lenses with these very inexpensive adapters, or you could choose a Canon adapter, whichever you prefer. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.